Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to the video for Sword Art Online Last Recollection. My name is Ventus, and in this Sword Art Online Last Recollection video, I'm going to show you my current tank build for EUGEO. My EUGEO is currently at rank 26, and I'm on chapter 8 of the story mode. Now, really quickly, before I get into my tank build for EUGEO, if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel with all notifications on so you don't miss an upload. And also, after this video is over, head on over to my channel for more Sword Art Online gaming content. And as always, if you have questions, please let me know down in the comments. Alright, so here are my equipment and abilities that I have on my EUGEO at current. So the equipment and gear that I have on him just normally, I've got the Dragon Fang sword. This is the most powerful one-hand sword that I could use for at the time. It's got 362. I still just haven't found another more just powerful weapon to give him. For the equipment that I have on him just normally, it's this Dream Weaving Garb. It's got 98 on the armor, 80 on the strength, 80 on the vit, and then 89 on the dexterity. And then these are the two accessories that I just have on him regularly. This Bewitching Talisman, it has the Wall of Thorns equipment. This is a passive, and you can tell it's passive because it's green, and the things that are green, they just happen no matter what, as long as you have it on your character. Wall of Thorns, sharp enough to pierce all who touch them, returns a portion of damage taken to its source, reflect damage plus 5%. And then I've got this Evil Bane necklace. Now this is not a passive skill, this is something I can equip to the character. That's attached to this Evil Bane necklace. It's called Small Spirit Solace. It says you get health regen plus 1000. So if I go over to my skill palette, I'll show you everything that I have on him. So EUGEO is an invincible type, which means that he is basically a tank, and he needs to have tanky stuff on him to help him to do his job better. I was just so tired of EUGEO dying, and I know that if you got EUGEO and you don't have him like equipped correctly, he's probably still dying on you. So I got him with some tank stuff. All right, so looking at these first 4 palette skills, and let me just start by saying that these 4 palette skills, this isn't it. You can pretty much equip every skill in the game on the character if you really wanted to through tactical arts, but we'll get into that in just a second. All right, so the first thing I have on him is this Small Spirit Solace. That's the skill that came with the item that I have on him, so you get that health regen plus 1000 whenever I actually switch to him and use him, or I actually have to switch to him and make him use this skill physically. And I'll explain that in just a second. I've got God Robe Warrior. For a short time, you are clad in Divine Vestments, gain a double that nullifies attacks, envelops you multiple times even after the effects wears off. And then I've got Knight's Shield. Become the protector of your allies, instantly warp to the ally with the lowest HP and perform a protective circle around them. Grants imperviousness in a smaller area even without alliance. So I've got that on him as well because he's a tank character and he is there to protect my team. Alright, and then we've got, of course, Galvanize. Those unwilling to abandon the fight, bring the battle to a higher plane, recover full SP, and turn your aspirations into reality. SP recovery plus 100%. So I think every character should have Galvanize on them at some point in time. Alright, so for the sword skills on them, I actually didn't even touch these sword skills. These are the basic sword skills that they come with. So Snakebite, what's really good about Snakebite is that you get paralyzed, obstruct movement plus 30%. And I've got Vertical Arc, Sonic Leap, and then Nova Ascension. Nova Ascension is really cool in this game too. A flurry of interwoven thrusts and slashes cut down the enemy with a tempestuous rush that leaves no room for retaliation. Inflicts defense down on the opponent's defense minus 10%. So I actually really like Nova Ascension for that. Alright, so for the finisher skills, I've never really touched these. For the finish arts, there are a couple different finish arts that he has. He's got the Blue Rose Sword EA, EUGEO finish arts, and then I've got the Blue Rose Sword RR. So this is a new one that I got shortly after I completed the demo, and then went a little bit further in the demo. That's when I unlocked this through the story. He just does a different animation. It looks a little bit cooler. Alright, so for the skill equipment, this is probably something a lot of people might not know, but if you do, this is pretty interesting, and it's really a game changer, and this is what you really need to keep your EUGEO alive. Okay, so every one of the skills that he has that you can use on him, you can equip that with its own set of gear. So essentially, like the way it was explained to me back in Alicization Lycoris, is that whenever they do a different skill, they're not wearing any armor, so they're weaker. So when you switch and do skills with them, you have to put them with armor. So what I did this morning was I went through and overhauled my EUGEO, and I made it to where his defense and HP are super high. And I mean, even before I did this, he wasn't dying anymore anyway, but now I'm pretty certain that he's just not going to die unless we fight something that's ridiculously strong. So whenever he does Snakebite, he has on the Congo armor, the Warrior's Will Belt, and the Ring of Devotion. So this is probably like what looks like it's going to be my most powerful setup, these 3 items. So the Congo armor, it basically just, you know, ups his defense, it ups his HP. That's what I was really looking at, upping his defense and HP. The Warrior's Will Belt, this also upped his HP like by the most. I think there's something else that I could do to actually raise his defense a little bit, but I wanted to have him like a little bit more HP. And the Ring of Devotion, I think it was an HP thing with Ring of Devotion as well. All right, so I put Warrior's Will Belt and Ring of Devotion on like all of his skills. But with the Dreamweaving Garb, I was kind of up in the air with this Dreamweaving Garb versus the Kogu armor. All right, so Kogu armor, he's got attack 344, defense 524, and the HP is looking at 98, 20, right? So looking at the Dreamweaving Garb, I mean, yeah, you can see it right there. He's got 97,850 HP, 98,020 HP, 524 on the defense with the Dreamweaving Garb armor, and then 524 defense with the Kogu armor. So it's pretty much the same thing, actually. Alright. So I have that set up pretty much on all of his weapon skills, sword skills. And then over on his regular, like, skills that aren't, like, attack skills. So for, like, Godward Warrior, Small Spirit Solace, Night Shield Galvanize, I kind of went and changed some things. I wanted to make this set where it focuses on raising his defense, okay? So Dreamweaving Garb, I kept that the same. Dreamweaving Garb, Pitch Black Belt. I think Pitch Black Belt is actually a little bit higher on the defense than the Warrior's Will Belt. Or is it higher on the HP? No, okay, I forgot to change this, so I'll change this now. Warrior Will Belt, okay. And then Ring of Woven Flowers, this 94, and then let's change it. I think I actually forgot to do this one, to be completely honest. Okay, let's just change this one to the Ring of Devotion right now to get that extra HP up there. All right, so Saint's Garb, he's got 502 defense with this, 96,000 on the HP, Ring of Devotion, Warrior's Will Belt. Okay, now this is where I changed it a little bit to get more defense. Kogu armor, the Ashen Talisman Stone, it brings his defense up so much. So looking at this other build right here, the Warrior Will Belt and Ring of Devotion, you see the defense is like 502. Night Shield, I have it with the Kogu armor and the Ashen Talisman Stone, his defense goes up to 541. So that's why I was kind of playing around with a little bit, because I wanted to have him like have like a lot of HP, but then at the same time too, I wanted his defense to go up a little bit more as well. I put the same combo on his Galvanize. Actually, I got to change that Galvanize armor to the Kogu, because I like the Kogu a little bit better. All right, so yeah, you can see his defense is up 541 right there. So that is the armor and equipment that I have on him. I know it's a lot to sort of process, but once you like go through and find the best equipment for him, you might have to do this every so often, because I haven't gone in and really touched his armor for like a couple days, and there really wasn't much that I could change, because I didn't get really much like new or better stuff. The only time I really go and look at his stuff is whenever I get like a better weapon or something like that, then I'll change it. Now this is the really difficult part. This is the, well, not even really difficult, just the long and tedious part of the game, and that's going to be the tactical arts. Now, if you are kind of newer to the game and you haven't played through, I forget exactly what level or what the requirement was, and if somebody knows down in the comments, just let us know. But there's a way that you can take these panels and make them to do whatever you want. Like in the beginning when I first started the game, like you can't change. Like this one is stuck at when HP is low. This one, the one on the right, was stuck at, it was stuck at like monitor break gauge or whatever like that. You know, all these things are stuck at that, but then I got a certain level you can change these panels to whatever you want. So I just thought to myself that it would be probably smarter to give him 2 aggro gauge like monitoring panels, so that he does these things automatically whenever the aggro gauge is at a certain level, or I can just tell him to do it when I feel like he doesn't have a lot of aggro. Alright, so I'll just start out with the customized arts panel for when HP is below 50%. So basically, whenever his HP gets below 50%, or when I tell him to do it, he does morale boost. It only costs 100 SP, so he spends 100 SP, and he gets, you know, SP recovery 300. Then he goes into the Blessing of Paradise, and he goes into Warrior's Care, and there's basically 2 things that, you know, 3 things gives him SP back, gives him some heals. When his aggro gauge is at 50% or less, now I might be faded when I do this, but I feel like I'm not sure exactly what the aggro gauge is when you first start the battle. Somebody might in comments tell me that I'm faded and say like he's got max aggro gauge when you first enter a battle. But whenever you first enter a battle, I usually have him go with this. Like I'll tell him to do this with the tactical arts screen in the combat screen when we're fighting, and I'll just have him do the SP charge, make sure he has enough SP to do this, and then go Ode to Victory, and then Law of Protection. Ode to Victory, 10% aggro plus attack 3%, and then Law of Protection, aggro gauge recovery plus 10%. And I'll also hit this too in the middle of a fight. It's not just like at the start of a fight. It'll be during the middle of the fight or whatever like this. I'll have him to do these things whenever I feel like he needs to do them. Whenever he has aggro 75% or less, this is when I know he has the boss's attention. I'll have him do a God Road Warrior, so he gets that double that nullifies attacks. We'll go Snake Bite, so he can paralyze, obstruct the movement of the boss. And then Heroic Aura, this is one of the new ones that I just got. The power to overwhelm enemies with sheer determination. Fostered over 1,000 of battles, lowers one foe's defense, so defense -5. So we've got the Snake Bite into that. So it's kind of like more of like a build that, or a small type build that is meant to debuff the enemy, but he's not really a debuffer. But I feel like if he's got the aggro anyway and he has the ability to do it, then why not have him at least try it? And then finally, the customized arts. This one is actually on order. So I'm looking at it, it says order, execute when commanded to. Pretty much, I don't know why they have this, but everyone, maybe it's ones that they don't have like a condition to do except when you tell them to do it. So I think that's probably why they have it. All right, so whenever you have it on order, you tell them what to do, when to do it, this is when they're going to do it. So I have him at Nova Ascension so he can give the boss -10% defense whenever I want him to do that. And then we've got Law of Protection, aggro gauge recovery plus 10%, and then Ode to Victory. So basically I just want to make sure that he's a tank character and he continues to be a tank character by keeping that aggro. And since I've changed this on him, I gotta tell you, bro, I've never had a boss look at me one time. Not one single time since I've changed all this stuff on EUGEO. And before, I was actually getting targeted by the tank or by a monster a whole lot, whatever I was fighting. But now, I never get attacked. EUGEO stays alive too as well. Alright guys, and that's going to be it for this video. If it was helpful to you in any way, shape, or form, you can show me your thanks by giving the video your like. If you have any questions or comments about this or anything else Sword Art Online Last Recollection related, please drop them down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Peace out.